Good Monday morning, my peeps. It's Adrienne Talks, and I'm excited to have a special guest. Jessica Grasso is here, and she is the CFO and Deputy Commissioner of Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, Inc., which we're going to call MAC because that is a mouthful, right?
Absolutely.
So, Jessica, welcome. I'm so excited to have you. Introduce yourself to my listeners.
As you said, I'm Jessica Grasso. I'm the Deputy Commissioner at the MAC, working in college sports in Division One. We create championships and positive experiences for our student athletes and our coaches. It pretty much sums it up.
That's awesome. I love that you work in the athletics. I've never got into sports, but my kids really are. And I love like the atmosphere it creates. And I know you work a lot with that, like helping create that atmosphere, which is why I was so excited to have you on here.
Yeah, no, it cultivated from when I was a student athlete myself in college, and I wasn't going pro. So let's be honest here, I wasn't going pro, but I wanted to stay in that world of college athletics. It's just a fun environment, and so I said, hey, let me pursue my career in athletic administration, and gosh, about 20 years, here I am.
Oh my gosh, that's so incredible. That's so exciting that you've been, and I can tell you guys, if you could see her bio, the things that you have done, it's unreal. And so I'd love for you to share just kind of some of like what I know you have a lot of knowledge in leading beyond the W, which is your little, your phrase. And so I'd love to just hear more about that and, you know, how you use that in your day-to-day life and helping athletes, which I know we've talked about, it parallels to working your business as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what I'm going to kind of discuss here kind of goes a little bit of cross reference of different avenues, different platforms or businesses, basically. So as you mentioned, my leadership philosophy is leading beyond the W. I am in the college athletics, and everybody thinks about it as the wins, who's winning, who's scoring the points, who's got the goals. Ultimately, that's what fans really focus on, but they don't really hear about all the behind the scenes things that have to go into getting that ultimate win. For us specifically, like I said, we create championship experiences, but to get to that championship where, you know, this weekend we have cross country, so someone's going to run past that finish line and feeling awesome. But leading up to that, it's like we have a team of people that are organizing everything that has to get there, has to get done, the logistics, the planning, the places to go. And for me specifically, dealing with the finances, overseeing staff, making sure we're within budget. Those areas that you don't hear about, you really don't hear about. But when I say leading beyond W, I'm all behind the scenes. So it's the internal operations, the finance, hey, I know this is what I'm doing creates to a bigger picture for our student athletes. So my drive is, hey, I want them to have that positive experience like I had, that rush of success, that, hey, I feel accomplished. And by my part, it's leading to get there for those kids to get there. And that's why, you know, this is my little mantra. You get to a certain age in your career where you feel like you need something to ground you. And this is where it grounds me. And I feel like I could take this and take it professionally, personally, kind of across the board, all those little things that you need to get to that quote unquote W, whether it's an actual win or if it's your own personal success, whatever you may do across yourself or within your business.
And so I'm curious, like how, when you're thinking like even, you know, personal or business life, when you think about that, you know, leading beyond the W, like, can you give an instance where you applied that and you were just like, see, this is what I'm talking about, you know, like that our listeners could kind of go, oh, hey, you know, I've been in this scenario before and this would be a great way to apply it day to day.
Sure. You know, I correlated to a lot of, like I said, the behind the scenes. So our biggest one is our championships, and specifically all the planning and the preparation that we have to do to see that student athlete win that game. You know, I'll talk to basketball. That's my sport. That's where I played. You know, seeing them cut down that net, seeing them cheering, seeing them putting on that shirt that says champions. That's where, you know, behind the scenes of me running around, making sure our staff is in place, making sure we're organized, getting to point A and point B, making sure the referees are paid, the venue's paid. You know, that's where I ultimately see the outcome of what I put in for this specific grounding for myself. And you correlate that to any business. It's like you're working your butt off to get to your end result. If it is a sales quota that you want to hit, you have to get everything planning up to that point. Personally, if you want to, hey, I want to do better in a certain area of my life, whether it's just feeling good, eating healthy, exercise, I know those are always main things, but everything that leads up to it to get to that quote unquote W of feeling accomplished. So it's kind of across the board. And my biggest example is when I see those student athletes hoisting up the trophy, feeling awesome, that makes me feel like, okay, the work I'm doing is really important to those around me.
I love this for a couple of reasons too, because like I kind of picture when you're saying this, like, the tip of the iceberg, right? Like you see this win, right? As fans, as, viewers, whatever, you see this win, but there's all this other stuff that had to go into it. Like you said, your part, the finance, but also even those athletes, right? Like they don't just walk out there and win. I mean, they have hours of training, like you said, keeping themselves healthy, injuries that they have to overcome, and I'm sure mental blocks they have to overcome, correct?
Absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head with that iceberg reference. You see the top, it's coming out, it's floating all nice, but underneath is that huge mass of ice that you're kind of dealing with and getting up to that peak and getting out of the water. So I think that's an awesome correlation. And yeah, it's a lot. And I think, like I said, it could go across the board, whatever you're dealing with personally, professionally. But for me, that's what I kind of hone in on to keep pushing myself.
Yeah. And I could see, like, as business, the listeners are, business women. I mean, and you are too, that a lot of it is getting through that, right? Like you're going to also have mental blocks and you're going to have to train and you're going to have to teach yourself. Like, I'm sure there was a big learning curve with you, starting this, like, oh, I've got to pay for this. I got to make sure this is aligned. And every time I'm sure there's another championship, there's one more thing you got to add to that checklist, right? To make it go off smoothly. And I think, as business owners, so many of us don't see that all that you look at somebody. And I think that's where lucky comes from, right? Like people always say like, oh, she's so lucky or they're so lucky, but it's not luck. It's all the bottom of the iceberg, right? It's all that stuff that they're doing behind the scenes that when, their sales, like when you said sales quota, it really stuck to me too. Like when you have a sales quota and you're not quite there yet, you can either say, oh, well, I'm not, or you can grind, right? And figure out what you're going to do to get to the win, the tip of the iceberg, right?
Absolutely. 100%. I mean, and I think it goes down to you as an individual. What are you willing to push through? What are you willing to get through those mental blocks that you just talked about to get to that win, to get to that goal that you're looking to accomplish? And yeah, I mean, not everything is always easy. As you said, there's going to be obstacles, there's going to be hurdles, of course, and you sit there and you question, hey, can I do this? But I think ultimately, yeah, you can do this. And I think, we talked about a little bit earlier, the intentional that you want is in your life, your business, personally. I think it all just depends on if you have that drive. And that's where I kind of pull everything that I have from, and for personally, professionally, and I'm sure for you, having this message for other female leaders that this is awesome. It's like, and the people that are going to be listening to this are the ones that are going to be going after it.
Yes. And so I love that you said that, because I was going to bring that up too. I know that you kind of took that time to start having that mindset, shift and really look at your attitude and your outlook on life. Can you, explain to the listeners a little bit of what you went through and how you sort of work with that to get that positive outlook and to, really learn how to work with your mindset to move forward when you're in those roadblocks, those hard stuff, those hard times?
Yeah, I think, you have to, at the time, and yeah, probably say within the last year or two, it got to the point where I'm in this career. I've been in it for so long. I want to establish that mindset, that be more positive. Where can I help? How can I contribute? Where can I succeed personally and professionally? And I think it's having, being intentional about what you want to do. Like I said, this leading beyond the W I've been using for the past year or so. It really has sink my teeth into it. Something I can ground myself to, because ultimately it's like, I want to keep striving. I want to keep succeeding. And I think it also comes with experience and age and opportunities. You asked me this 10 years ago, I'd be, hey, I'm just here to do my job. I want to do a good job. Maybe I'll get an accolade here or there. Now it's to the point where it's like, okay, I'm 20 years in, I'm making an impact. I'm up at the table making big decisions with our membership and collaborate with them. So I know that my place in my realm is important. I can be an impactful, and I just want to continue with that And that's where kind of the shift in the mind change of making sure that going into decisions, meetings, working with staff is being intentional. And like we said, not everything's going to be rainbows and butterflies. You're going to have
if only, right?
yeah, you're going to have your moments where everything's not great, and you just gotta kind of go with it. But it's always shifting of, okay, how can I handle this? Well, how can I do it better? And even mentally, like it'll, this will pass. Everything will be great, and just keep on trudging along.
Well, and I think what you said really hit me too, is that like, so with the, experience, like as you were there, like you said, you started and you're like, I'm just going to work. I mean, not, but 9 to 5 and do my thing and go home. And that's what it is. But as you, start realizing that this experience is something that you want, I think like changing that mindset and looking at the outlook, like all of a sudden those opportunities, like you see them. They were probably always there, but as you grew, and that's something that I love about the mindset work, is like opportunities are around you all the time. It's just whether A, you're open to them, and B, you have the positive outlook to go, hey, like you just said, you're important and your job's important. And I think sometimes people discount that, because it doesn't matter what job you have, like anywhere along the spectrum, your job's important. Because if we didn't have everyone doing everything, from from high up all the way down, when you think about corporations, CEOs down to your regular sales worker or whatever, those are all important jobs. Like you can't run a business with a couple of those missing. So I think it's so important to see that you're important. Like, I think that's an awesome thing to say, like I'm important and they need me. And you should say that every day when you wake up to go to your job.
Absolutely. You make an impact, right? You lead, you make an impact. And one of the things you said about opportunity, and I think that's part of it too, is taking on those opportunities that are not part of your job description, that are not part of, the everyday of the norm. That's where you're going to grow more. That's where you're going to learn other aspects. I try to seek new relationships within my business and also outside of my business, because I always say you never know where it's going to lead you. So taking on those opportunities, I think, is 100% important, making yourself uncomfortable, but really branching out, because, you'll meet someone in one aspect and then move on to another. And then, it's like I said, you don't know where it's going to lead you, and it could lead to great things for you.
It's so true. And I think you, like what you just said, keeping your mind open and talking to people and getting out there. But I love how, a lot of where you're coming from is this, service mindset of like, where can I help? What can I do? Did you always have that, or was that something you started applying? Like as you got more into your job? I'm just curious, because I think those words, like if people could think those more, I think they would see what you saw: more opportunity, more room for growth, more experience from that.
Yeah, the whole how can I help is kind of what I think about when I go into something. And I think it comes back to the same thing as far as experience, years of working in it. Because it's, as you get older, and to keep yourself, excited about your job, about your position, it's just looking for those other areas of where can I help? How can I help? Especially in my world of college athletics, it's, everybody's working together. We're a team in our sense. I'm not on that basketball team anymore, but I have my team of people here that, sometimes no task is too small for me to do. I'll help out. You just got to ask or tell me.
Yeah.
I can't read your mind sometimes, but it's really pitching in on those moments where it is a lot of activity going on, a lot of items that need to be moved around, that you say, hey, how can I help you? Whether it's your own staff, whether it's the organization outside of you. And I think that same thing as you asked, that came with experience and moving on in different areas. Because it's like, okay, I help. Well, ultimately, you keep saying, how can I help? Because when you do help, you feel great about it. You feel like you have succeeded something, you provided a service for someone, and they're happy, and that makes you happy. I mean, it's the feeling that you get.
Right. And that's what creates that team environment, right? Like if you're looking at basketball, but I even think about this in business or a team, if you have one person that's always got the ball, that's not going to work very long, right? Like it might work for 1 or 2 times, and then they're going to know who to cover, and your team's not doing anything. So it really is about that effort together of how do we help each other? Where can I go? How can I get open? Like, the same thing when I look at, direct sales or just companies in general, when you're looking at that atmosphere, the people who start going up are the ones who realize it's not just about them, it's about everybody on their team, right? Like if you can reach out and help other people, like you said, you're going to get that great feeling of like, I helped, but you're also going to grow because you're going to learn something by helping people.
You want to keep doing it. It's almost like it's a craving. Okay, great. This accomplishment of helping someone. It's like, all right, well, what else can I do? What other opportunity can I try to seek out? Because yeah, I'm just going to say it feels awesome. It's great. And that's what I think that's a drive behind. I know drive behind me. I'm sure I drive behind a lot of people that want to ultimately keep growing, keep succeeding, keep advancing themselves. It's just ultimately that feeling of accomplishment at the end of it.
It's so true. It's so true. I'm so glad you came and shared some of this. And, I always love to ask, every guest, because if there's one piece of advice that you could give our listeners, what would it be?
Sure. I'm going to go with this. I've said this a couple of times elsewhere, but it is push yourself because no one else is going to do it for you. And I think that's 100%. As we talk about this conversation today, it's just pushing yourself to do those things, to ask for the help, ask for being service, ask for the new opportunities, or ask, hey, how can I advance? So it's really pushing yourself outside of your normal box and your limits.
That's such a great piece of advice because, I never thought so a lot of people think about, hey, can you help? When you need help, some people struggle with it, but I definitely think life's a team sport and you need to ask for help. So just going back to the team, life is a team sport. But even asking that question, like you just said, that back to where can I help? I don't think a lot of people, think about that when they're pushing themselves. They think about what can I do better? How can I? But that is key. In the pushing yourself is also saying, help me, but also how can I help you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could look at it different ways, but and I know it's so cliche and cheesy, but we always say you have this one life, right? When I leave here, what do I want to feel like I accomplished? So it's all right, you have to keep pushing yourself because until you can't do it anymore, you have this opportunity, go back to opportunity, to take advantage of these unique experiences and connections and relationships and just people that you come across your life.
Well, they are so lucky to have you because I can tell your passion and I can just even feel I'm not a win isn't even happening right at this moment, but I can feel that you are totally there wanting them to win and you are creating the best environment for that to happen. And I'm sure even if they don't, the experience that they get is because you have so much passion and that comes across in what you do. So I think that's also a great thing for everyone to realize is when you know what you want to do, when you have that passion and you can find what you said, hone in on those things that really, what do I want to say? Make you tick, you know what I mean? I can see that in you. And when you have that, life isn't work, right? Your work isn't work because you're doing what you love.
You get to do these things. It's awesome. You get to the point where it's hey, these are fun things in life. Like we said, not always going to be great and wonderful, but you shoot for that 95% of the time that it will be.
Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on. And you listeners, she will be available this week while it airs on our Facebook page. So if you have any questions for her or anything that, we'll be there to support you this week because we want you to have that intentional mindset. We want you to realize that you can help yourself, you can help other people, and you can do it knowing that this is how you're going to move forward and this is how you're going to create that life that you love. So thank you, Jessica, for all the amazing tips. We just really enjoyed having you. So thank you.
Yeah, Adrienne, thank you so much for having me. Love to answer any questions that people have and how can I help you?
All right, guys. So we'll be in the Facebook page. And until next week, when Yo Adrienne talks, realize the power is within you. Do you want your life to be more flexible? Do you wish you had a house on the beach? Do you want to travel more? Do you yearn for financial stability? Would you love to be your own boss? We all have a different dream life. It is literally so different for everyone. I help each person individually figure out what they really want. And then we work on your mindset and actions to start creating the life you've always wanted. So if you're interested, go to yoadriennetalks.com, click on coaching and check out all my different coaching programs so that you can start having the life that you deserve.